It was supposed to be a peaceful weekend, a chance to unwind and escape the routine of life. Courtney and Sarah had planned this hiking trip for months. The crisp October air, the vibrant fall foliage, and the Catskill Mountains were the perfect recipe for relaxation. The pair had rented a charming little Airbnb nestled deep in the woods, away from the hustle of the city. The owner, Kathy, had assured them it was peaceful, and the picturesque setting did not disappoint. They were excited, ready to hike Overlook Mountain and enjoy some quality time together. Day one was magical. The trails were alive with the crunch of leaves underfoot, the gentle sway of trees, and the occasional hiker passing by with a friendly nod. They had been to Catskill before, but something about this trip felt different until they met her. On their way back from a breathtaking view of the mountains, they encountered a woman. She seemed harmless at first glance, maybe in her mid-50s. She introduced herself as Melinda. There was something about her that felt off her forced friendliness, the way she stared a bit too long before speaking. Courtney and Sarah shrugged it off as nothing more than a quirky encounter. After all, it was a public hiking trail. People were bound to chat. But things took a strange turn. Melinda lingered. She seemed to follow them down the trail, staying just close enough to be noticed, but never engaging again. A wave of unease swept over Courtney and Sarah as they realized she wasn't just coincidentally going the same way they were being watched. By the time they reached their Airbnb, they dismissed their concerns, chalking it up to paranoia. It was just a woman, after all. But that night, when darkness fell and the forest grew silent, everything changed. They had settled in for the evening, watching Netflix on the living room couch, exhausted from the day's hike. Just as they were drifting off to sleep, the first knock came, a slow, deliberate knock on the front door. It was PM and they were in the middle of the woods. Panic gripped them. Who would be knocking at this hour? Courtney muted the TV, heart pounding. They listened. Another knock followed, louder this time. The sound sent chills down their spines. They weren't expecting anyone, and no one else was around. When a voice called out, "I need help, please let me in," they froze. It was a woman's voice. Could it be Melinda? Courtney's instinct was not to respond. She whispered to Sarah, "Don't move." "Don't answer." The woman outside continued to knock, each time more insistent. Then there was a pause, followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps moving to the window. Sarah dared to peek through the blinds and saw the shadowy figure of a man walking past. Fear set in they weren't alone. It wasn't just Melinda. Someone else was with her. They locked every door, every window, and moved to the bedroom in silence. They tried calling the police, but the connection was terrible. They were stranded. Suddenly, the voice outside changed, the knocking stopped, and instead, it was replaced by something far more sinister, the sound of the window latch being jostled. Whoever was out there was trying to break in. Courtney dialed 911 again, this time managing to get through. They whispered their address to the operator, hoping the police would arrive before it was too late. Then, as quickly as it started, the knocking stopped. The air outside grew quiet, almost too quiet. They held their breath, fearing the worst. Minutes felt like hours as they waited for help. When the police finally arrived, they searched the property and found signs of forced entry at the back door. However, the intruders were gone. Courtney and Sarah left the next morning, terrified but alive. They later found out from Kathy that no one named Melinda lived in the area. To this day, they wonder who was that woman. What did she want? And more chillingly, what would have happened if they had opened the door? In hindsight, Courtney realized how close they had come to disaster. An innocent weekend in the mountains had turned into a nightmare one that nearly ended in tragedy.